I'm a high-end streetwear designer. I'm a creator, I don't want you to bring me a picture and tell me I want this dress that Michelle Obama was wearing somewhere, I don't want, I like to bring concepts where, like, I'm the best of me is when I conceptualize and bring something, and every time people would say, oh my God, okay, and like, this looks amazing. Actually, if until we define our own, and embrace our own, we're always going to then wait and see what's in fashion according to the developed country.
Welcome to Shine in the Light. My name is S.E. Walibwa, and my guest today is one and the only Mothusi Lesolle. He is the founder, the creator of Izaura. We're going to talk about that. My brother, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing?
You're looking great, man. You're looking great.
I'm trying. I had to prepare myself for you.
Yeah. I'm wondering how you've been dealing with this pandemic, because a lot of us, we went through the pandemic. A lot of people, they lost their jobs. Some people actually were able to be creative during this time.
100%. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of us, I think, were affected. I mean, in almost every business, like you're saying, but some did manage to actually get employed or create employment during this time. But personally, I mean, I don't want to lie. It affected me, but it affected me a lot, and in the sense of business. I mean, it meant readjusting everything. For me, I said that I said to people that this is the reset button had been pressed, where we need to either reevaluate, change processes or enhance processes, and change a little bit or pause a little bit or do whatever. But for me, I think it validated a lot of things that I had been saying for so long, especially for Botswana and the type of business that I'm in, and a lot of just businesses that are surrounding Botswana, and there was a time that I said to somebody, I felt like COVID had been created for me, because it validated a lot of things that I had been, trying to say. We need to move in this direction, and those are things like embracing e-commerce and, just things that Botswana don't really, because we're still in the traditional way of doing business, and and I have had these thoughts. I'm a visionary, and I always have my thoughts always come now, and then I think many years later people start to embrace, at least on the side of the world, and I remember saying to somebody, I said, it's interesting how we are even complaining about, because we're still in the pandemic. I said, it's interesting that we're still complaining about rentals, because one of the things that happened to me, eventually I had to move studio home, and it was something that I personally had felt I would never want to do, because we are cultured to believe that for you to be seen to be successful in business, you need to have a place of operation outside of your comfort zone. You need to be, just our priorities are not set right. So when I say I think it was designed for me, and I think designed for many other people, I think if you didn't get something out of it in that aspect of knowing that you can actually make things, like when I think about the studio that I had and where I was renting, and I keep thinking, why did I do this for so many years? Because it wasn't, I couldn't even afford the best space, but it was expensive. It was more expensive than even my own apartment. So, I embraced a lot of things during this time, and I've revisited things. I have actually, it has made me believe in myself more, because I realized all the things that I had been advocating for and that I had wanted for so many years now were making sense. People were starting to order, Botswana was ordering online, and this is something that you would have never thought, people would do back here at home. My mother knew to order groceries, online, and stores were delivering, and these are cultures that people were not doing even in the past. And if we think about even just how, that our culture and how, Botswana has moved really into the fast-paced culture, in the sense that now, we everybody goes to work. We don't have people taking care of older people as compared to in the past, where we would now be, we would be living with the older people and taking care of them. So embracing these things that we've been slacking on, that now COVID taught us to embrace. I think it was such an important wake up call for all of us, and I'm part of that. Part of
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it was bad, but I think it has helped us to find a way of stepping into the right direction.
Right, right.
Mm,
That's
mm,
wonderful, man. Well, before we delve deep into our conversation, let me take
yeah,
you back. I want to know where you were born, raised, went to school, and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because you didn't just fall from the sky. You know. So I want those kids, especially the youth. When they look at you, they know that this guy. He just worked hard, just like anybody else, right?
absolutely.
Nothing was
I
given
was
to him. He worked hard for
No,
that.
100%, 100%. I was born here in Botswana, but I call myself a citizen of the world.
Hmm.
I've I've never lived anywhere else except Botswana. I'm a
Hmm.
product of government education.
Hmm.
So, sometimes I know there are times when people think, we achieve certain things because maybe I was privileged. I have
Right.
gone through exactly what every Motswana child has gone through, through the same government education. But that has not stopped me from dreaming bigger than my own surroundings. Um, that's why I say I'm really a Botswana. I'm born in Botswana and raised in Botswana, but I'm a global citizen. My
Mm,
thinking is beyond the borders of my own country.
mm,
I come from a family of three, no, yeah, three siblings. Well, there's three of us. I'm the only one in the family.
right.
And yeah, and there's my mother and father.
So, but
From
did you
Malate.
from Mahalapi?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay, okay. I have family in Mahalapi, man. I have family
yeah, yeah,
in Tikinyera and Tomadi Totse, over there by
yeah,
Madiba. I have family
yeah.
over there.
My father lives in Mahanapi, but I'm a city boy.
You are a city boy.
Yeah, yeah.
That's good. That's good. But you talk about how you used to watch your grandmom, in the house,
Mm,
like those patterns and all
mm,
that kind of stuff, especially the
yeah,
floor. How she was
yeah,
using the cow dung to design,
yeah,
those. I remember that. That's so beautiful, man. So you picked
yeah.
something from that, right? To
Yeah, I think for me, then it just really defines it. No, not defines, but it really shows how
what
the artist.
was it the time when you used to go back to the village?
This is when I used to go to my. This is my maternal grandmother in Seruwe.
Okay.
So I would watch her, and I think when I think about it now, I realize just how the artist in me had been tricked from such a young age, because I can remember everything that she did, and this was many years ago in the 80s or 90s. But I still remember just how she would do flooring, which we call hokapa.
Yeah.
It's called
Yeah.
hokapa.
Mhm.
Yeah, hokapa le lwapa. And when I then think about such things, I think now as an artist, or having found myself as an artist,
Mhm.
um, I went back to my roots, and I said the world is hungry for what they haven't seen. And I said, but what's my authenticity, or what's unique to me that I can offer the world? I then had to just go back into, there's so many interesting things that I'm working on that I can't wait to share,
Yeah.
because even just conversation, I'm very close with my mom, and just the conversations of the culture in terms of fashion, and that going out back in the days. Like, I've literally just gone back to conversations that I would have with my mom, and the art,
Mhm.
like it's exciting when I think about it, and how for a moment, for some time, we had been made to believe or think
Mm.
that we should look externally for inspiration when the greatest is really around us, you know. So
Wow,
that's,
wow, I like
yeah,
that. Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
that for me is part of the things that I do, is advocating for commercializing of culture, and finding ways that we can find competitive advantage in the market, um, by sharing our experiences, especially cultural experiences, with the rest of the world.
Right.
Because most of the time that we see what is maybe regarded African or Botswana, um, art or culture, is when now we're looking at crafts in the middle, in front of the mall, in
Mm.
little markets, which would never be able to compete with, developed markets. So my advocacy is saying, how can we take that artistry? How can I take that history of seeing my grandmother creating that artwork, and making
Hmm.
sure that we commercialize it, make it, part of the, of a cultural identity or fashionable identity.
And then you went to University of Botswana. You studied political
Mm.
science. You know, so did you get a job? Did you get a job after that, or how did
Yeah.
you jump from poli sci to fashion? I mean, that's interesting.
Fashion has always been in my DNA. I remember when
Yeah,
I said to my mom, I was in the
just like
corporate
you
world.
said, just like you said. Hmm.
Yeah, I was in the corporate world after, I was in the corporate world after graduation for about
Uh-huh.
3 years or so. And just when I was about to, I almost landed a job with, one of the diplomatic services. And I ran. And I remember having this conversation with my family years later, saying to them, Ghana, I was asked to bring, my paperwork and this, but I knew where my mind was. I wasn't there, because I remember even when I left the corporate world, I felt that I was sitting on somebody's chair,
Hmm.
where somebody who would appreciate what I
Hmm.
was doing, because I wasn't. I felt that I was not in the right place. So yeah, I've had opportunity to work, but in
Hmm.
terms of, and like I say, I'm in a stage of my life where I've reached a stage of self actualization, where
Uh-huh.
I understand things so much better. So I remember people would say to me, why did you waste time and go to UB and study political
Political science.
science? And
Yeah.
you know now I understand how then maybe I do different things differently to maybe the another designer, is
Right. Right.
because of, all these things that I advocate for, all
Hmm.
these things that I would like to see happen in terms of changing of policies, trading policies, and all of those things. It's everything that I learned through
You
school.
can make a
And
statement through your fashion, through
absolutely,
your design. Yeah.
absolutely. And another thing is that fashion is no longer just,
Hmm.
it's always not been, but at least we are now at a stage, is even in Botswana, where we can embrace that we have a purpose. There's so many things that we can do under the fashion. Fashion is not always just about creation of clothes. It's also playing role, in like we have in law. Maybe you have an entertainment lawyer, and so maybe we also should have a diplomatic lawyer, I'm no, sorry, diplomatic person, if there's such a thing. But there's diplomacy, there's everything that um, even anybody, I think anything can be applied to any industry. So,
Yeah.
interestingly for me, I'm in a space where I'm able to, I've worked with, it is easy for me to then find work with people like United Nations, that, where I've worked with UN or Commonwealth, because I think it's just things that are at the back of my mind, and I always know the type of their mandates and what they're looking for. And it's part of my studies. So I combine the two and create, and that's my fashionable,
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
way of
Yeah.
contributing to
I think
fashion.
that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
so
I also think about yeah, I also think about how fashion is used as a vehicle, even in storytelling, even in films.
yeah.
You saw how
Mm,
you saw how they wrote Black Panther, for example, right?
Absolutely,
Like it was inspired by
absolutely,
fashion at the same time, right?
100%,
So
hundred
yeah.
percent.
Mhm,
I mean, like you're saying, Black Panther had used
mhm,
a majority of the costumes were created by
yeah,
a designer from South Africa, Makosa, who Laduma, and it was nice to be able to see that, um, you know, we've also come home to be able to do. I mean, the Western market has come in to tap into African talent. And interestingly, I was giving a talk somewhere in South Africa, and one of the guys there was a film producer as well, and he was like, you know, what's it gonna take for us to get to a stage where then we see, um, African designers, da, da, da. And I was like, it's really, you make it sound like it's upon us as designers to fight to be on the platform. And I said, as a producer, as a film producer, it starts with you, and especially as an African film producer. I
yeah,
don't think that our validation should come from, we shouldn't wait 10 more years for another film in Hollywood to pick
right,
another design. We have
right,
a responsibility and I think an obligation as the African entertainment and
mhm,
culture to
mhm.
embrace our own. You cannot sit wearing Gucci and say to me how long is it going to take. You start by creating a movie and make sure that everything that is in there is from the African soil.
Right. That's wonderful, man. Um,
Mm.
so are you still doing the color? What do you call it, the color in the desert
Currently
fashion?
Desert.
Uh-huh.
So Currently Desert was, I think we were ahead of our time. We
Hmm.
started this thing, we started this thing, I think 2012, and the
Hmm.
support really was a huge challenge in Botswana, business Botswana, and the government. We really didn't receive so much support. I think it was such an interesting
Hmm.
concept to have had
Yeah.
in Botswana because we were
Yeah.
just saying, and at that time there were really, 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 really few designers. The culture of fashion in Botswana was still very um, different to what it is now. And we were saying at that time to say, hey, we may be a desert, um,
Mhm.
but we are there's color here, there's talent, there
Mhm.
is diversity, there's so many things. So come in. It was
Mhm.
one of our contributions to the aspect of fashion talk. So the interesting thing is Canada in the Desert, unfortunately we had to put a pause on it. I believe that one day, God willing, we may be able to be in a position to bring it back,
Yeah.
especially when people now, it's sad when you knock on people's doors and because their minds are limited to what they believe should be.
Do, do,
It's difficult
do,
to try and to convert people's minds, and it's sad when you then see many years later people then doing exactly what you were trying to do back then.
yeah.
So
One interesting
yeah,
thing that I thought about it was like, in the concept of tourism. Tourism is not just about going to go and see the animals. You know,
yes, yeah,
and those pristine lands. You can diversify this whole thing. Tourism is not just about that. Tourism
mm,
has different sectors within it, right? So fashion is
100%.
part of it. I think it's a beautiful thing to say, hey, let's go see, Muthusi is doing something great, man.
I mean, it's not like
Mhm.
it's outside of what I'm always talking about. It's exactly
Yeah,
what I'm talking about. Trying to see, for me, is like I say, we spoke about my grandmother earlier on, and
yeah.
the sad thing is, that was, she didn't understand that, and it's not just her, it's many other grandmothers out there who didn't understand their own legacies,
Yeah.
could be commercialized and create income for them. They didn't also realize that what then we speak about in terms of sustainability today,
Mhm.
before even sustainability became fashionable,
Mhm.
my grandmother and many other grandmothers were doing it because these were women that were, like we're saying, creating houses and artwork out of the
Mm.
different materials that were and not harmful to the environment. So
Mhm.
I don't want us to continue, because this could go on and on and on for so many years. And then by the time that we notice things, you know, it becomes a little bit too late, because it's an forever evolving industry. By the time Botswana, I think, embraces what sustainability is in fashion, I think the world will be somewhere else, introducing another concept altogether. Because I've been trying to talk about this thing for so many years, but
Yeah,
no, nobody understands what it is. It's a foreign
yeah,
language currently.
yeah.
Yeah,
Isaura. You know,
yeah,
when I heard the brand Isaura, you know what came to my mind as an
yeah.
African? I remember
Mm,
when I was teaching the kids at the Urban League, and we were
mm,
watching, a couple of films, and then we watched what we call Black Panther, and then they were speaking Xhosa there, and some of these
mm.
kids they were saying, something in us connect us to this language right here.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? It sounds like
Mm,
this language here is part of us. So when
mm,
I hear Izaura,
yeah,
you know what? Not even looking at the meaning, I just thought that it means that
yeah,
this is the hour. This is our hour. This is what I understood. But then I
yeah,
listened to you again. You said that no, um, you went to another country and they were talking about this. This is about making clothes.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very interesting. And
Mm,
that definition came at a time when because I then
mhm,
discovered that the word Isaura exists,
mhm,
especially in the South American, in the Brazil and stuff. And I was like, I felt robbed of the name because I felt like I thought I had come up with my own original concept.
mhm,
And, you know, and this guy then says he was from Namibia, and he says in his culture, he's like, "Are you from Namibia?" And I was like, "No." And I said, "Why?" He said, "I hear the name." I was like, "Okay." And he said, "In my language, it means kuvaura means to wear clothes." That's when I was like, I said, "That's it." This
yeah.
name, it's
Mhm.
such a powerful name without even, I didn't even realize just how powerful it would be,
It
and
carries
just how
power.
I
It
came
carries
up with
power.
it.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, and how I came
I
up with
want
it
to
was
wear
that
it. I want to wear
you want to wear it.
it. Yeah.
And when I was young, I used to I used to watch this slavery series called Iskraba Izaura, but it wasn't even spelled the same way. And it was something that me and my mom used to like watching together. And it was just talking about it was based on a slave that was trapped in the wrong body,
Mhm.
and when I then ended up taking it and changing, this a little bit of the spelling and making it, adding the zing to it, I was like, it's defining the designer that had been trapped in me for so many years and I was not able
Mhm.
to embrace. And
Mhm.
I also said, when we look at, also because it was a slavery series, and
Mhm.
I said also is defining just how black man had always been in the background,
Mhm.
and and today we see black men taking leadership. For me was the fact that I'm not a formally trained designer.
Mhm.
um, I'm coming in through the back door of fashion, home
Mhm.
taught, elevating
Mhm.
myself in ways that I can do. I
Mhm.
said the prophecy that I give for my brand for this fashion is that it will one day take lead in the world of fashion.
Mhm.
And I still stick to my story. It will happen.
No, you have beautiful designs, man. You have beautiful. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
You also talk about the transformational design or
Mm,
transformational fashion and
fashion, yeah.
sustainable fashion, right? Can
Mm,
you unpack
mm.
this for us, please? I mean,
I
you
mean,
sort of kind of
transformation.
touched a little bit on it, but maybe you can expound a
Mm,
little.
mm. Yeah, I mean, transformational fashion for me, like it says, I think it's self-explanatory. Explanatory.
Yeah.
It's It's about, bringing transforming concepts into the industry. Um, I'm a very my mind is always ahead. Ahead of its time. I think, you know, transformation leaders are visionaries. We're
Mm-hmm.
always looking for change and innovation. And, I think I just came up with the name because it was describing, or more than anything, it was carrying the concepts that like I said, that I advocate for, being, um, sustainability, and mind you, this is, like I keep saying, fashion keeps evolving. But when I started, a few years ago, these were things that I was already advocating for, for sustainability, being able to also embrace and commercialize culture. Because for me is, we keep complaining that people come into from developed countries, and they come in and they steal our inspirations
Mm-hmm.
without even acknowledging us, so those are the things that I'm trying to say. Listen, for as long as we don't maybe protect our legacies, then it's a free
Mm-hmm.
market. Anybody can really take it. So there's so many things that let's take them, let's patent them, let's trademark them, let's make them so that even many more, our children can come and find, these things, if at all we believe that we need to preserve them. We cannot just think we need to preserve landmarks, hills, and animals, because at one point, things get extinct. But the one
Mm-hmm.
thing that keeps staying is
Mm-hmm.
is the culture, is the people. But if you then let it go and make it unfashionable, where you don't make people realize that even the young can relate, because the way that Botswana still defines culture, I think they define it with 1966.
Mm-hmm.
People think when we say culture, we're talking about before independence. And um, and and unfortunately, this is why a lot of our, practices have not been embraced, because we failed to, make them evolve with time, such that they are suiting to the times of today.
Mm-hmm.
um and I'll tell you something that I say about also, um Nigerians are very big on their culture, but the one
Of
thing that you
course.
will never see is that OTT, um, fashion on the red carpet. You would think that we would have seen, especially like you would see Naomi Campbell, for example, is always in Nigeria, but you
Yeah.
never necessarily see her wearing that on the red carpet. And it's because I think it's the one thing where they failed to evolve or make it become part of now. Their culture or their fashion has still, it's great, they love it, they look great in it, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still, in terms of fabrics, I think they, and
Mm-hmm.
that's still in that type of way. Similarly, I say it about Lideti as well, which we have adopted as our fabric. I think
Mm-hmm.
we've also failed to evolve it over the years, because the interests of the younger generation is different from the interests of, it's just a heavy cotton
Mm-hmm.
fabric that has
Mm-hmm.
not been made to become more palatable to what the younger generation would want. How about we make it stretchy such that people can swimwear with it? How about we do, certain things? So that's why I think we sometimes find that our culture stays in one place and doesn't become dynamic. And yeah, I think sometimes I've lost even where we were. What was the question again?
Oh, no, you are right on. We're talking about transformational fashion, you know.
Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
So
mhm,
transformation, yeah. So transformation for me is saying,
mhm,
let us, like I said, sustainability,
mhm,
ethical fashion. Ethical
mhm.
fashion is one of the things that I advocate for, which is part of the transformational fashion. And ethical
Yeah,
fashion
talk
is
about
saying,
that. Talk about that ethical thing that you're talking about.
yeah. So
Yeah.
ethical fashion is saying, let us make sure that the communities that we work within equally benefit. No, let us make sure that they benefit. Let us not take away from them. Let them benefit. Let's not just exploit and take away the raw materials within a community and go and produce elsewhere. Let us make sure that they also get to benefit from, our lavish, amazing things that we do. Let us give back to the community. And I'm not saying give people money, but
And
employ
and and
them.
let and let us not exploit them.
let's not exploit the societies in which we get our stuff from, and make
Mm,
sure, and one of the things that is, as we're talking, because when we speak about commercializing culture, I said, I was talking to somebody and I said, we have, for example, Maung and
mm,
Kasani as one of, the Chobe and the Maung area as one of the most interesting or high fashion, sorry, tourism destinations in Botswana.
mhm,
But when you match the lifestyles of the people
mhm,
within where those things are, it's not
mhm,
reflective of the quality of life, is not reflective of where it is from. You would think that because there's such a high traffic of tourism and everybody coming in and people buying um, from these curious shops, these amazing things at expensive. I mean, sometimes you see literally a scarf and it's $500,
mm,
and because it's sold in dollars, but the person that made it must have maybe been paid only 20 pula, which is, or 50 pula, which is $5 or $2. And for me, it's saying, let us introduce aspects of minimum wage within the artistry chain
mhm.
to make sure that the people that are involved get what is right for them instead of just being exploited. And
Yeah,
that's what ethical fashion is about for me, to say,
I
hey,
love it, man.
these are our people. Let's
I
let's
love it,
let's
man.
make
I love
sure, if we're going to, because some of the things that are sold even within these shops are taken from different, they're not even taken from Botswana.
it. Mhm,
We don't have, if they do, it's rarely. I've seen that they take some things from outside of the country, and for me, it's our people are capable.
yeah.
Can we then also intervene as government to say, as you do these things and as you bring in these things, we've got artisans
Mhm,
within the communities that you're operating
mhm,
these tourism aspects. The people that travel from overseas to come into these places also want to look at our people. Somebody told me that they went on holiday and out of nowhere they were taking a picture, and a Maasai person came out of nowhere and said, "You want to take a picture with me?" And they're like,
mhm,
"Yeah." And they're like, "It's going to cost you this amount of money." And they were charging them in dollars. And I was like, I love that. We need to teach, because,
mhm,
you know, people, that's why we've had situations where people were fighting to keep certain areas of Botswana from, to be untouched. Because for them, it's a holiday. It's nice to go on a holiday and be able to take pictures with the Basara people, take pictures and put them up in their albums and say, I met, the Bushmen. And for
uh-huh.
me is, but their lifestyles are not matching up to that. So those are the
Right.
things I'm fighting for, to say we need to make sure. But also, you don't just fight them and just say, we're fighting, give people our money. There's processes and ways in which you make sure that it becomes very tasteful in making sure that the people get money out of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man. That's really powerful.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from we can actually just stop over here. I mean, this is powerful. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we were talking about, because I go and drink Starbucks, right? Like these guys,
Yeah.
they go to Kenya, they go to Colombia or whatever those places,
Mm,
and the
mm,
pound of coffee, you buy a pound of coffee at
mm,
Starbucks, it's about 14
mm,
bucks, $14,
mm,
right?
mm, mm.
How much did they buy that pound of coffee from Kenya? They probably $1.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You know?
And those are the things when we need to, it's not, I think when we think about diversity and finding ways in which we can increase part of the, the grow the economy of the country, we think big, but it's in
Mhm,
our everyday practices, it's in our everyday lives that we need to be able to. I mean, today it's interesting that we're showing that there's been a pilot project where they had planted rice in Botswana. Certain hectares rice was planted, and it was the first of its kind. It came out well. It's great.
mhm,
And for me was like, and then what? Now that people have seen that there's a possibility to do these things, are
mhm,
we going to be able to make sure that we do it in a way that is able to, like you're saying, if maybe the best rice comes from Botswana,
mhm.
are we going to have somebody come and buying it for 24 for $1 and taking it away, and then
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So these are the things that you are talking about right now. They're very, very
Mm,
powerful, man. And
mm,
then you talk
mm,
about the colonization of fashion.
mm,
When I think
mm,
about the word decolonization, I think about decolonizing our mind, because I think, especially in some of the places where we're coming from, right? We still
mm,
need to colonize our mind a little bit, but also
mm,
even our educational system, because I
mm.
still don't think that it serves the now or the today's
No,
way of
no.
living. It needs
Mm-mm.
to be decolonized, right? But you're talking
Absolutely.
about fashion here. Are you talking about the the influence that is coming from outside to come and take over?
Listen,
Because of we know that some of our stuff is a little bit westernized, right?
mm, well, for me, number one,
Mhm.
decolonizing for me is saying we can learn to coexist in our
Oh,
and embrace our different cultures, but
mhm.
it's also about ownership. Ownership of um let us own ourselves, and understanding the power that we possess. I swear to you, when I tell people that Africa or
Love that.
Botswana or any African country is capable of dictating the fashion industry, I really
Mhm.
mean it from the bottom of my heart. And because I see, I'm very good with something called, with business development. And I
Mhm.
just see the capabilities that we have. Let us stop looking at, decolonization for me is saying, let us stop seeking validation and
Mhm.
understanding that we're powerful enough to just create, the culture that or the movement that we need to be able to make somebody want to buy from us. Let us
Right.
not, let us, because we value what we have when we see it coming from elsewhere. We provide the raw materials to the world, and then
Mhm.
it comes back to us at prices that we cannot even afford. And for me is once we commercialize the cultures that I'm talking about, we
Mhm.
can put the price mark that we want because we don't embrace what we have. We don't, it's like well, we want somebody to validate it from anywhere else before we think it can be, great. I mean, we have so many brands that have come in, and maybe been inspired. For example, the Soto blankets have inspired a lot of international brands.
Yes,
Uh,
yes,
they came back.
yes.
They came back as beautiful blankets with a nice, expensive price tag on it, and everybody wants to own it. And for me, is I
But
will be
now it's coming from outside, right? That's what you're
happy.
saying.
So
Yeah.
and there's and you see and there's nothing because it's a free market. There's nothing you can do,
Yeah.
But if you let I want that to be let it be, let us know that we can use these same concepts, and make great money out of them because we are amazing as we are. We
Right.
are, we are inspiring a lot of things, a lot of people, but we are not inspiring ourselves. We
Mhm.
think we've made it if we are wearing a garment with a different label. For as long as if people know that the clothing item, like I'll tell you, I'm more valued outside Botswana than I am valued by my own people because people in Botswana think they have accessibility to me. When I'm outside this country, people understand, to address me the right way. You get your value from outside as compared to home. So how are you even going to value any concept that I bring if you don't even think anything of me? You want somebody to take from your legacies. Like I'll keep referring to my grandmother. Am I
Mhm.
waiting for somebody to to take the prints that my to create the prints that my grandmother made while doing the artwork and make
Mhm.
fabric out of it, and then that's when I would want to buy it? you know those are the things. That's what decolonization for me. Decolonizing is just, it's more not, it's got nothing to say, um let us reject what, the outside, the developed world. And
Right.
it's more than anything, it's saying believe in us because we've got the capability to dictate this industry. I really, you know, because sometimes we sit down and say, oh, the current season is green, and
Mhm.
that never comes from Africa, that never
Yeah.
comes from us. We've got the power to say the print in season is this, and the rest of the world will have to follow.
Mm.
You know, the
Uh,
same thing that I'm talking about, where people felt, you know, everybody was clapping hands. The fact that um, we used what's the movie that we were talking about earlier?
Black Panther.
Um,
Mhm. Black
Black
Panther.
Panther coming to America. Was it
Mhm.
coming to America as well
Coming
too?
to
They
America.
even for that they used then African designers. Let us not wait for validation to come from outside. We are big and powerful enough to be able to control this movement.
Love it, man. Love it.
Mm.
I saw a video. I think Beyonce shot a video somewhere in Africa, and she was using all these African,
Hmm.
styles.
Hmm.
I thought it was interesting. One thing that I want to see William K. What was it? What's his name? William K.
Yeah,
William
yeah.
K. I want to see him wearing Izau right here. I'm gonna talk to him.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, you know, it's interesting because artists, especially the artists, they say this, the singers, they
Mhm.
always feel like they're not supported. Their music is not played enough in local radio stations. And you have somebody saying that, and they're wearing Versace. Whether it's even real or not, we don't know. But I'm just saying, you're standing at a podium, you're complaining, you're on a radio interview, and you're saying, we people are not listening, people are not buying, people are not playing your music in the radio stations. I was like, but like they say, charity begins at home. For you
Charity.
to be start here, start with
Mhm.
saying, if I'm going to want to get support.
Mm.
And you know, once ever since I started applying that concept to my life, I don't
Mm.
feel guilty when somebody say, when I'm not able to attend somebody's event because I used to feel I need to show support. I don't
Mm.
feel guilty when I then don't do certain things, because for me it's like, now I want you to talk to me. If you're gonna say, listen, I want to see you also then wearing,
Yeah.
not just me, it doesn't have to be me, but
Mm.
your tribesmen, you know. And one would say, and it's easy because I know people then would say, hey, we don't get the quality we want, but this, it starts somewhere, guys, you know. I think, let us forgive each other while we're still building.
That's
Let us
good.
forgive each other and build each other until we
Mhm.
get to such a point, because even the very ones that you're wearing, they were at one point maybe where certain people are, who are still who are still in the developing stages of their
Yep.
career. Yeah, we're very impatient, especially when it comes
You-
to our own.
yeah.
I mean, I know people that I know a lot of people that order things online
Mhm.
from their popular, you know, online stores, you know,
Mhm.
in developed countries,
Mhm.
and they have paid for these things, waited and waited, never even saw them, or saw them coming in after 6 months, even past the season that they were
Mhm.
ordering them for. And they're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, I actually got a call from the courier company and it said my package from XYZ has arrived. But
Mhm.
should it happen or be done, we fault our own so much.
Mhm.
You know, should I make the mistake of
Mhm.
not being able to deliver on time, you are crucified. Whereas when it's done by, you know, the so-called developed markets, it's
Mhm.
okay. That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think let's really forgive each other while we're still trying to build ourselves. Botswana is at developing stage. For me, it means, I keep saying I've said to people, it means nothing for one person to be amazing and then the rest of the market is beneath. You know, it's like
Mhm.
what a friend of mine said, you know, and he was talking about, just he lives outside the country, you know, Jose, and he says, it doesn't do me anything to drink champagne, to be in a space where I'm drinking champagne and the next table is not able to afford it. He says, I want to be in a space where, if I'm in a space where everybody's able to do that. And that's when, you know, you can weigh where you are and say, you cannot sit down and say I'm doing well, because, you know, maybe you are doing this, or you are better amongst the rest. It doesn't make you any better, you know.
You are doing well because other people who are around you, they are
Because
also doing well.
so
But
this is why I say, please, let's forgive. We're all growing. Let
We're
us
all
forgive
growing.
each other while we're trying to reach that level. I mean, if we were to knock in your offices as well and try and see if your service delivery is up to
Mm,
international standard, I'm sure we'll find a lot of loopholes in there. Just
yeah.
because we choose, work that you think you can blast on social media and say, "Hey, support." I think people will say, "Support local." No, I'm not gonna do this. I'm like, mm, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
I read a very powerful post the other day
mm,
from you. You're
yeah,
talking about uniqueness, you're talking about authenticity, you're
mm,
talking about packaging yourself, you
mm,
know.
mm,
Can you can you talk just a little bit about that? Because I thought it was
yeah,
really powerful, you know.
yeah. I mean, one thing I advocate for is authenticity. I had to do everything
Mm-hmm,
um, unlearn it. I learned and I had to unlearn a lot of
hmm
processes. And the one thing that I went back to, that one thing I always, that you cannot fight me on is it's authenticity. You cannot tell me I'm wrong when I'm sharing what's authentic to me. You cannot fault me on it.
hmm
So that's the one thing that I say we need to as especially in the creative industry, we need to bring our A game, and our A game can only be what's unique to us, which is authentic experiences and stories. Now I keep saying Botswana has got a lot of talent,
hmm
in different aspects, and like I shared on the post that you're talking about, I spoke about comedians,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, as I call them, which is, the internet,
Mm,
entrepreneurs. And
mm,
I said, if you're going to try, because you see, the more we advance, the more we embrace all these dynamics that are put in front of us, that are part
mm,
of the developed world, the more
mm,
we need to change how we think, because we think that we can just we are used to working with the Botswana market, which is forgiving,
mm,
which
mm,
is a certain standard.
mm,
And unfortunately, when you get into the bigger spectrum, is different, because now you are in the global market and everybody is watching. And when
mm,
everybody compares you, they don't compare you, they don't forgive you and say because you are from Botswana. They are
mm.
placing you with even those that are far from developed countries. So we need to, packaging yourself is very, very important. And I always say packaging, the number one package is, and packaging for me means, is this money worthy? Can it make money, or am I just wasting time? It's nice to get retweeted. It's nice for people to say, oh, this person did this, and then what? Because if somebody else anywhere else in the world has also been retweeted, but because we don't know them, we don't
Yeah.
get to say, if we could look, even
Uh,
in our past experiences, we would know that they were repeated or they were liked, but it didn't get them anywhere. So it's very, very important. Like I always say, it's very, very important to package yourself, understand what it is that you're giving to the world, such that when people then retweet you and look into this person that was they must find that you've been able to commercialize. You're industry ready. You're not just about the likes. This is the problem with social media. I think
yeah.
we think 25,000 likes means $25,000 going into an account.
Exactly. You tell me. Yeah,
you know
exactly. Exactly.
Maybe in a different world, in a different
Yeah.
space, it means that, but you are in the space where then you need to understand that it means nothing. It's just likes,
Yeah.
and we will keep saying that she's got 25,000 likes or 25.
Mhm.
But then what? But if you're in a position where you've packaged your product, you found how to commercialize, how to make money out of it, then those 25,000 likes mean something.
That's
And
good.
and like I said, Botswana has got so many talented people, but I think we fail to package, to package it in a way that is appealing. And this is why I spoke even about, kind of like, for me, humor. There's humor,
Mhm,
and being able to make your friends just laugh, and that's it. If you're
yeah.
not able to, it's not able to equate into money,
Mhm,
then it's really, we cannot call you a stand-up comedian. We cannot call you whatever, what, because it's fun. it's like me thinking that making clothes for my family means business. It means nothing until I get to a stage where I'm seeing somebody that I don't even know somewhere in the airport, somewhere wearing one of my garments. Until I reach such a stage, I think I'm still playing games, and that's what I've always said will define the level of my success. Meeting a stranger or seeing a stranger that doesn't even maybe place the space to the clothing that I'm wearing, and that's when you know you're getting somewhere.
I love it, man. I love it. And I love how you say that, a citizen of the world. And I think
Yeah,
even though you said you live in only in Botswana, uh,
yeah.
for me, what I'm getting from that is like you are citizen of the world. You are citizen of the world because in Brazil, somebody can be wearing your garment. In the US,
100%.
somebody
I
can be
think my
wearing your
clothes have.
garment. In the
I
UK,
think
in
my,
Australia,
I think my clothes have seen more countries than me.
exactly,
But
exactly.
yeah, 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 yeah. Thank
Mm.
you, man.
So
Hmm.
what was the fashion word? Fashion without borders mean? Is it what
Yes. So fashion
this
without
this
borders.
happens in South Africa or what? Mhm.
No, it happens like they say. That it started in Botswana.
Oh,
It's owned by a couple here. It's Thabo and Serge, and
oh,
yeah, they
I didn't know that.
yes, so fashion with that. So that's exactly what it is. I think the concept is based on really saying we would like to show that this fashion has no borders. And it started here. They are in South Africa. They are in DRC. They are, and slowly, I love just how also they've taken the time to grow the brand because it took a lot of time for it to even, get the recognition, the prop, in
Mhm.
Botswana because Botswana is slow. It took time. They took time. They were not impatient with themselves. But when things were starting to grow, then they just started to grow. And even now, I think that they're still, embracing it very nice and slow.
Yeah.
So they've got such interesting things that they bring in. They also, I think they have Zambia coming. So they've got all these, and they've got big brands supporting them, especially from the outside, because outside Botswana, then there's also lifestyle brands. Because Botswana, we have very limited indigenous lifestyle brands. So,
Mhm.
but one thing that they have that is very interesting in this fashion um, experience that they offer is
Mhm.
that they have master classes that they bring in,
Mhm.
to try and mentor and guide and they bring in, expertise within, from the industry. And
Mhm.
that's not just, it's not just fashion, I mean, it's not just clothes, sorry.
Mhm.
They bring in people from hair, they bring in financial advisors, they bring
Mhm.
in, all
Mhm.
these different people that are important to
Mhm.
be able to make them, to make you grow as a business in the fashion industry. And of
Yeah.
course, bring me in,
Yeah.
um, I'm that family,
Yeah.
So we went to in Johannesburg recently where I had such an interesting, I remember an interesting master class where it was really speaking about exactly what we're talking about today to say, listen,
Mhm.
because the topic that I was given is saying using fashion for social impact. And I said
Mhm.
my social impact or using fashion for social impact is exactly what I'm doing, advocating for all these things that I believe will bring change to the social lives of not just Botswana but Africans.
Um. So, so I want to know about your experience. How you get your one of your beautiful pieces at Macy's, and I think it's the
Mm.
one that the one that it has some sort of kind of sleeves here. I don't think you. I think you said they mean. Hold on a second. I think they mean like water or something
Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah,
river
yeah,
or
yeah.
river. So I don't know if
I
that's the
was
same one that I'm talking about. Or
yeah,
but
the one. So what? I was trying to think if I was like, is that the dress? How does it? I was trying to remember how it looks like, but definitely I had such a great opportunity,
yeah.
which I also extended to Botswana designers,
Mhm.
and maybe they did, maybe the timing was not right for them. They didn't embrace it,
Mhm.
but because I always want to bring in. Like Jay-Z says, and I bring my boys with me to the billboards. I like to
Okay.
bring in my people. I really love to see the industry grows. So even when I get opportunities, then there, as long as it's not just for one person, I will always say, hey, so and so, friends of mine in the industry, to say there's this opportunity. But there's something that they call Passport to DC. It was done through something called Passport to DC, which is a celebration of world fashion. So we had an opportunity to create something that would, that put a display at Macy's
Mm-hmm.
for like a month. So my dress there was called Motlalipule, which
Oh,
really was, yeah, the dress was called
that's exactly
Motlalipule.
what I'm talking about. Motlalipula. We're talking about
Yes,
rain here, right? So,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it was a celebration, like I keep saying, bringing, I think it was, people buy story.
uh,
We've gone, and this is what I keep sharing with people, that fashion has moved from just creating. People are into stories. And I think the story that followed, besides that, the fact it was a beautiful creation, I think the story that came with it is what made it so interesting for the
mm,
people at Macy's to read, because I explained what Mokalipula is, which is the rain bringer, and just the value that we place
mm,
on water, because we are a semi-desert country.
right.
Um, and that's exactly what I talk about when I say commercializing culture. It's also
Yes.
the stories that we have. It's
Yeah.
unique because they have not had such a thing. It's what
Mm,
made them very excited to want to associate with that. So to be
mm,
honest with you, for me, that's what I'm saying to the world. I'm storytelling through my clothes, and I'm bringing unique concepts of my culture, but in a way that it's also
mm,
exciting, and it's not just Stone Age
mm.
Stone Age clothes. It's fashionable without, it's African without it being wrapped on your face. It just makes it feels like your everyday experience.
Yeah. Well,
Hmm.
I don't know how much time you have, because I don't want to take all your time. We're almost up to the hour. Um,
Yeah,
but I want to
it's up to
know,
you.
do you think, yeah, okay, do you think, fashion is blooming in the West, like West Africa, more than in, southern part of Africa? I mean, you've been all over, you can talk about this because you've been
Yeah.
to different events, right?
Let me tell you the difference between them in the north and the south. You can, and when we're speaking, especially the north, when I'm looking at places like Nigeria, you cannot touch them when it comes to supporting their own. It's them first before everybody else. They have embraced. That's why they are not seeking validation from anybody.
Mm,
This is from their music, this is from their culture. A Nigerian will be in top of the world anywhere, but they'll still cook gari, they'll still
mm,
eat pepper soup, they will make sure, like I remember a sister of mine getting married here, and the whole entourage from Nigeria, the flight was
mm,
smelling of all this food that they were bringing to come and cook in Botswana. Where else we feel that we need to we, we, we put people outside first before we put our own. This is
oh,
why, and Nigeria is a great example to say
mm,
they are enough, and they know that you know they've validated each other. Look at this Nollywood; they create their own movies. No matter how anyone can say, the quality of these movies are what is happening, they watch
mm,
them.
mm,
You cannot watch a Nigerian movie and think it looks like the most amazing movie from Hollywood. But
mm,
believe me, they are watching it more than they are watching the Hollywood movies. They listen to their own music. When it's
yeah,
a wedding, it's just that music playing. They have found a way. They remind me of the Chinese. Chinese support each other. They
mm,
really, they take from each other.
mm,
And that's the one thing that we need to learn from the northern part of Africa, and
mm,
try and adopt the system, and because we're capable. And
mm,
and the southern part of Africa is also very rich, but
mhm,
no, I don't know what's happening. So we need to
yeah.
we need to
No,
we need to be to take example from the benchmark
yeah.
against them.
No,
Yeah.
even over here, when you see Nigerians, they beginning to have restaurants over here. Even if
Yeah,
you watch the Nollywood movies, you can tell, you can still see that, you can still tell this is a Nollywood movie. Even though they
absolutely.
have now been improving compared to 10 years ago,
Yes.
the
Yeah,
quality
yeah,
now is catching up with Hollywood, right? Which I think is
100%.
yeah, which I think is great.
And
And as far
I remember I seeing like Vivica Fox,
Mhm,
at one. I don't know if she's one of the movies or one of the award ceremonies for
mhm,
Nollywood. You
mhm.
know, we can sit down and say Nigeria is like a corrupt country, but hey, we've got all these people. We've got Naomi Campbell. That's Naomi Campbell's playground. She lives there. We've got all these big um, fashion designers that go there and want to take part in thingy. And even when they're there, when they create it, they're not forgiving. They make sure that they do it.
No,
They don't, no, they're not forgiving. You
no.
experience them as they are. You
I
know.
love that. I love that. No, I've seen, and I've been to one of the film festival over here. The
Mm,
Nollywood.
mm,
They That's a Nollywood film festival,
yeah,
and now other
mm,
people come from Hollywood become part of it. You see what I mean?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
without taking over. So, and you
absolutely.
and you also talked about how the Chinese, support each other. Even the Spanish people, they support each other. They can live
Yeah.
in a small room together as like
Mm,
maybe two rooms, and they can support each other in the next
mm,
5 years. Now they branch out. They
yeah,
believe in acculturation rather than assimilation. They don't come here and be assimilated into the
absolutely.
you know
Yeah,
what
I
I
hear
mean?
you completely.
They
Yeah.
acculturate.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, we that's exactly when I speak about decolonizing. It's knowing.
Yeah.
That's why I say we're enough.
We're enough. We are enough.
We are
We're
really enough. I
we're
don't
enough.
know. I don't know.
So,
I pray for that day.
do you watch soccer? Rarely.
Like
No,
like when I
I
get
was going to say that, and I'm not saying because you also talked to, we have to forgive ourselves. I understand
yeah
that.
yeah
Sometimes I watch how we love European soccer as Africans, but
100%.
you see how they are taking our players, and then they come back and they package them and then they sell
Yeah
them to us.
yeah yeah yeah. 100%. I mean, I I keep saying it's sad because it may happen to me as well.
Yeah,
That I mean, I can only fight for so long. I'm not getting younger. I'm also
yeah.
getting to a stage where I would like to settle down and
Mhm,
understand that I cannot be just
mm,
doing and making noise. And I mean, I
yeah,
would like to make noise while my life. There's also progression in my own life.
yeah,
I
yeah.
cannot sit and say because I think for it's gonna take so many more years for me to be for Botswana to get to a stage where I could feel that things are are matching up to me,
No, but
and
Mutus, you
I'm
also talked
already
about
trying to grab. Yeah.
Trevor Noah, that Trevor Noah, even though he's here,
Yes.
he couldn't just stay at home, even though he's here,
No.
right?
Yeah.
You can still see
Yeah.
that authenticity that you're talking about. You can still that Africanness that you're talking about
Yes.
in him,
I mean,
right?
he doesn't shy away from even like his recent one where he was
Yeah,
talking and he was making a joke and he was like, speaking to Biden is like, oh, it's so interesting because you felt, I don't know, he's like, as he said something, he's like, you felt you could get the African, the South African, he's not even trying to hide that he's a South African in the US and making it big. He's South African before he is, you know,
yeah,
uh, where he is today.
yeah,
And that's what people then he's bringing to the table what is you know his authenticity is what is making him stand out more than maybe the next other person that they would have taken
mm,
who they already have within their own market. It's because this is a guy who has packaged his talent,
mhm,
but it's packaged in a way that it's 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 at par. You cannot
yeah,
even fault it. You cannot sit down and say Dave Chappelle is better. He's as smart. He's just, and that's exactly what I want. I don't want us to be seen as just the, crafts that can be put uh, on display, because I don't want people think imperfection means African,
Mm.
and I don't want that. People, yeah. I remember this guy, he polishes stones, he polishes the stones here. There's
Uh-huh.
stones that he was with, and he was sending them. There's a lady that was buying them, Motswana lady
Mhm,
buying them from outside the country,
mhm,
and she was like, his skill obviously got better with time. He was polishing it
mhm,
nicely, da, da, da. And these are rocks that I found in
mhm,
Boboro, I forgot what they're called. And he's like, the lady then came back to him and said, don't polish too much, because
mhm,
people, decide they like it when there's like something wrong with it.
mhm,
It makes it
mhm,
African. I don't want. I hate when I see that. It's like how developed countries think they can define our standards of beauty, and
yeah.
believe that the darkest girl with the brightest smile means it's what defines what an African girl looks like. That is
Mhm,
unfair
mhm,
to to the girl that comes from maybe this side of the world or the southern. You see, and then that's again another thing, you
mhm,
know, because the southern girl is built
mhm,
or is built differently from the northern girl of Africa.
mhm,
The northern girl also becomes popular in that side of the world where we are seeking validation.
mhm,
Whereas when the light girl who's the same color as you and I sometimes is not seen as African enough. When there's fashion
right.
shows, they're looking for the darker girl. And there's nothing wrong with the darker girl. But I'm saying, do not embrace all of us. We actually, if until we define our own, and embrace our own, we're always going to then wait and see what's in fashion according to the developed country. Is the dark girl, is the skinny long girl who can't, who looks like has gotten, nothing but bones. What about then the rest of thingy? Only we can define that.
That's powerful. Well, I see Isaura everywhere, my brother, and I see
Yeah.
that authenticity that you're talking about. I love it.
Thank- thank-
So
thank-
let's try to wrap things up here. You were part of the Forbes, event that
mm,
happened in Botswana.
yeah.
Yeah. How was the experience? What did you take from that? And also, I want you to talk about the designs that you had for you know for Palesa and the rest of the group. Because I thought they were really beautiful. I looked at them a couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, Forbes, first of all, to get the recognition by such a
Mhm,
big brand, I
mhm,
think it's amazing. I'm very grateful for it. And each and every time you have an opportunity to work with, people, especially of a different culture and experience to where you
mhm,
come from, you always take something from it.
yeah,
Um, Level of professionalism that was expected, I think it just, I mean, I'm very privileged that I get to travel a lot because of work. I've created these opportunities on my own where I get to then showcase, and each and every time that you come in,
mhm,
you or get into a project, there's always something that you get out. So Forbes was amazing in the sense that I was also working with, there were designers that were coming from different African countries: South Africa, Ghana, Kenya,
mhm,
Botswana, and to work. It was nice to see your peers how they do things differently,
mhm,
and obviously there were opportunities that also have come out of being part of this,
mhm,
which I will also share as time goes on, or you will get to see.
mhm,
So yeah, it was really nice. And
mhm,
the design, my whole collection was sustainable.
mhm,
I chose to use sustainable fabrics, and my collection in particular was a resort collection.
mhm,
I was hosting people in my country. It's
mhm,
always nice when you have people also coming in.
mhm,
So we all bring to the table what we would like to share. And mine was to say we are coming to part of my Africanism is sometimes it's not necessarily defined by maybe a print or anything, but also the celebration of the tourism aspect of the country. It was, like I say, it is a resort. So resort meaning I was saying I'm sharing a regal Botswana woman on holiday, Um, I had very powerful girls working for me, like and Miss Botswana, I had Kauneka Rio, I had Julia, I had all these different girls that have worked, on international ramps. And but I said, how am I going to define Botswana? This time I said, let me celebrate the tourism aspect of Botswana. And more than anything, it was also to pay homage to the women because my element of ethical fashion was coming into play to say I would like to pay homage to the women that are within the tourism value chain that don't necessarily get the recognition or that don't make it to the papers because they are nowhere to be found. But also to say, I would like to pay respect because these are some of the things that they do. So that's really it. It was that, and it was simple but very nice, striking but
Yeah,
simple.
yeah,
Comfortable, which is what you want when you're on holiday. You don't
yeah.
want to be so. Yeah.
No, I thought it was really really nice.
When I say I found who I am as an artist, I really mean it. I'm not a girly designer. I'm a true fashionista. I love proper, and like I said earlier on when I said in the beginning, I did everything because that's the market. Because I was looking for money, I was looking for validation. I would do everything that came my way. If somebody
Mhm,
said I want a corset dress with this, that, I would do it. And it's not me, I'm I'm a high-end streetwear designer. I'm a creator, I don't want you to bring me a picture and tell me I want this dress that Michelle Obama was wearing somewhere, I don't want I like to bring concepts where like I'm the best of me is when I conceptualize and bring something and every time people will say, oh my god, okay, and like this looks amazing,
right.
so the call didn't maybe a few years ago maybe I would have felt why was I not called, but
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I now I'm happy,
yeah,
like I'm very good not to be called. I'm not a bridesmaid designer. I don't
yeah,
want you to call me and say, we have 5 girls, they must wear a
yeah.
dress that can turn around like this. No, 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 no,
Your party was fabulous, man. Did you design that coat that you that you're wearing?
no. Yeah, that was my so we decided to I had wanted to do this big party. It didn't happen, COVID affected everything. But I then said, listen, let us go out, let's go and remind ourselves of the good times is when we're growing up and Botswana was happening. And I said let's wear the fair or bling, and everybody brought their bling, their mama's fair, their everything, and I designed my own jacket,
Man, I was like, "Damn, this is joy right here. This is joy." So, the
Yeah.
design behind you over there, right behind.
This one,
Yeah,
yeah. So this actually was one of the. It's one of the.
I love
It
it.
was also in Forbes. It was in Forbes.
Yeah,
Like I keep saying, I know how to embrace culture, my own culture, without rubbing it on your face. That's a linen suit. It's got nice bootleg pants, and there's a nice corset belt with a lion head,
mhm,
and it's also helped me to inspire my next collection and all sorts of things. I really, really love it. So it's one of the pieces that were in Forbes and it's going to go into, we're working into going into retail on a project that also came about as part of taking part in Forbes. So
Forbes.
people will
Wow.
get to be able to order these things online and
Mhm.
yeah, and also get to visit the store in Johannesburg and be able to buy some of these things.
I love it, man. I love it. That's so beautiful. So, how do we
Yeah.
get your stuff? How do you order your stuff for people who want to order your?
That's exactly what we're working on.
Okay.
I
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
I'm really, really, it's not an easy step. It's not an
Mhm.
easy step to move away from just tailor-made or bespoke pieces to want to get into the mass market production.
Mhm.
You know, that's
Mhm.
what I'm working on currently, to try and see how I can make my product more available than, especially to destinations or people that are not necessarily with me, you know.
Yeah.
Like I said, I would like to be in an airport somewhere in Dubai, and then I
Yeah.
just see somebody, you know, wearing a
Where you,
nice
yeah,
piece,
you are a
and
citizen of the world.
that for me it will
It's
be
going to
the,
happen. It's happening.
it
Yeah.
has to happen. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's actually happening right now.
yeah.
Um, the importance of mentorship.
That's where I started, you know.
That's where you started, right?
That's how I started.
Mhm.
Yo, I sacrificed a lot, you know, dude. I have sacrificed so much to be, you know, and it's interesting because when people see what's here, they don't realize what has been happening
Yeah.
uh, beneath. Because before I even came out and said Isaura is here, you
Mm,
know, I I was interning, you know, I was interning, I was getting mentored from a business perspective. I've worked with different designers. I've exposed myself to any and everything. You know, I've worked for magazines. Um, I needed to be, you know, to really get. I was a stylist before I became a designer, so you know, I took time and sacrifice and lost so much while I was doing it, but gained obviously so much more by you know by doing what I did. It's very, very important to, you can never, you know, it's interesting because I keep saying to people, this is an interesting industry where people leave school and they believe they can open their own company. Everybody wants to open their company, nobody wants to work. And this is why then also almost every other business every other day is closing, because,
mm,
excuse me, it's not everybody that can run the business of fashion. It's difficult, especially in a space like Botswana where things are tough. I mean, it's even, you know, it's been even me. It's still tough for me with a lot of things, especially that when I came in, you know, I came at a time when I was a first of many other things. Fashion had been, there's so many people that paved the way for me, you know,
mm,
that were there before me that did so great. You know, we've got
mm,
Gavindama, Pokuaho, we've got all these Amidanga, we've had all these amazing designers. But then when I then came into the picture as
mm,
well, you know, in my time, you know, then I was opening doors of like sustainability.
mm,
I was then invited to showcase at the Buckingham Palace, you know, create a sustainable gown. And I had nobody to look at to say, how do I do this? You know, I had to then do things, think on my own feet, you
mm,
know. You know, so, but because of the, you know, the small mentorships and all these things where I was then taught how to relate to fabrics, how to relate, how to know, you know, I remember this, one of my mentors in Pokwa, when she said to me,
mm,
she was like, you don't have to take 10 years to achieve the things that you can achieve like I did. You
mm,
know, you don't have to go step by step. Some of these things are not necessary to follow. You can go here and be
mm,
able to achieve. You know, that's the
mm,
importance of mentorship, you know, is
mm.
that you are able to be guided not to repeat the mistakes of the ones that came before you. You are
Oh,
able to be, yeah, that's really it. And I advise, and the problem is that, you know, the generation today is thinking money before value, you know.
mm,
They think money before the value, you know. This
mm,
is why, you know, there's certain things that you will never be, that they don't teach you in classroom, that they don't teach you any of it, that you need to experience through a leader, somebody who is before you, to be able to say, you can do this way. You don't have to do it like they do it on the book, you know, the quicker way. So all those things come through mentorship and intending and all sorts of things. And I'm very grateful that I think I did that. I still, for me, I still, that's why I call myself a student of fashion. I still do that. I still call people and say, listen, how do I go about this thing? You know, it's because it's constantly changing. I mean, the other time I spoke about I was saying to people, as like, if you think you are competing with me or you think I'm competing with you,
Mhm.
um, you need to really get into my mindset and understand that I'm not where you think I am. Because while right now you are praying to own a store in the most expensive mall in high end fashion streets of New York or wherever, I'm trying to find space within, your children's, games. I'm trying to see how I can be able to own or have my brand, or have your children and grandchildren, purchase a digital outfit from me with a similar amount that you would purchase the same outfit that you would want to wear. And I'm saying that, and I'm telling you now, because I think sometimes people think I speak gibberish, people think I'm delusional when I say certain things, but that's where I am right now. I'm not looking for your cousin to wear my dress to prom. I'm trying to have your son max out your credit card because they're buying a digital outfit from. Yeah, so that's my thinking, when I tell you that I'm a visionary, that my mind is always just working overtime ahead of things,
Mhm.
and like I'm saying, I know that right now, eventually people will embrace some of the things that I'm talking about, like sustainability, but I'm already moving ahead, I'm somewhere else. And that's what the beauty of then mentorship
Mhm.
is that you are able to be in the midst of somebody who thinks like me. There's somebody else also who thinks something great or great innovation out there, and that's why it's important for you to have these people be a part of your growth and legacy, because they then expose you to some of these things.
Yeah. No, I think the world needs people like you, man.
Mhm.
5 guests at your dinner table that you would like to have.
Whew. Hey, I tried. I tried. I tried to look at. Let me tell you something. I know
Uh,
so many people. I
I looked at your table the other day. I was like, man, this is a long table
like
of incredible
like
people.
and also let me tell you something. I'm not one
Mm,
of those that get excited by. I know somebody else would be sitting down and say, "Oh, I'd love to have Nelson Mandela. I'd like to
mm,
have the." Like
mhm.
my life. Listen, my life is just like, if anything, I would want to be. I don't take life seriously that much, but I take
Yeah,
it seriously when it has to be. But at a
yeah.
dinner table, I want to be able to just, be like, like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm a free spirit, and I
Yeah.
just it was difficult for me to come up with a list. I was like, I'd like to see Michael Jackson there.
Mhm.
I'd like to see
Yeah,
Brenda Fassie there. I'd like to
yeah,
see Brenda Fassie swearing at Michael Jackson and saying, "You think you're better than me because you've got curly hair," and all this. Like, I just see crazy characters on the table, not because we're trying to think of something diplomatic and great, but be
yeah,
able to say, all this. Like, I just think crazy things. So, but I'm always drawn to delinquents. So
yeah.
interestingly, I don't even know why. Like, people, like, because I don't like conforming.
Mhm.
I don't like
Got it,
following.
got it.
Yeah. So
Mhm,
I'm always drawn to the people that are against the system but still
mhm,
have a level of, you
mhm,
know, self-development, to be able to say, I'm not saying I'm just, it's one thing to be
mhm,
um, a delinquent and not do anything out of your life, but also be a
mhm.
delinquent and say, listen, I still put to the table, I'm able to do one, two, three. So um, I think besides that, I would be happy just to sit with my family. I'd be happy to
That's
sit with just
wonderful.
my family.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah,
there's
yeah.
indeed five of us in that family.
I love it.
Yeah.
Your message of
Yeah.
hope.
My message of hope.
Oh.
Woo. What? Where's that one coming from, man? My message of hope is, I it goes back to your your imperfections are exactly what the world is looking for. Don't wait for a perfect moment. Come as you are. The Bible says the same thing. It says,
Mhm.
don't try and perfect yourself before you walk into the house of the Lord. And I keep
Mhm.
saying the same principle applied to life. Your imperfections are exactly what the world is seeking, because you are bringing what they don't have. That is what all your authenticity is bringing what everybody else. I used to get, there were times when I used to, like like when I'm serious with work, I'm like, I mum my mouth like this, and
Okay.
I used to hate it so much, especially when I'm caught off guard by cameras, because I always say I want to be caught in the right space. When the camera comes, I must be, but no. So they'll catch me when I'm cutting a dress, and I'm like, but and with time, I just embraced it, because my mom, and interesting, because my mom does the same thing. Like, I'll catch her doing something, and she's also close her mouth. And for me, it's like, is that one thing that you're trying to get rid of? That is
Mhm.
that makes you more interesting than you think you are. So don't come as you are. I promise you, is the one thing that you hated about yourself. And remember what I said about William
Mhm.
last, and I said my imagination of him and what he would share, when he shares his story, when he does share his story, is that
Mhm.
I'm imagining, or I thought, or I'm thinking, it's that as he grew up, people were making fun of his image, because
Mhm.
he's got these freckles we don't have in the black
Mhm.
community, or we don't really
Mhm.
have a lot of freckles. He's got
Yeah.
ears like this, and
Mhm.
he's, when you look at him, he just looks funny, and just even his gestures and expressions. And for me,
Mhm.
was like, today he just stares at the camera with the very funny features that people could have made fun of, and it's
Mhm.
what is bringing him. It's what will make him more interesting than the next person. So embrace your imperfections. That's exactly what will bring you what you are searching. It's never far. It's just around you. It's always around you. It's always around you. The best things that you can ever give to yourself and to the world is, it's right around you.
Wow.
Mm.
You are young, but you have old soul. That's wonderful. That's a lot of wisdom. That's a lot of wisdom. Thank you, Mothusi.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
man. Appreciate that. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Let me ask you last question.
Yeah.
Yourself. So how, because you've been asking me, how you do a good job. I mean, I had to go into and search and search and search and
I
see, like, the great. That's when I was like, oh, great. I like
I
to be
go ahead.
interviewed, right? And when I saw, and even just when you were sharing your question, I was like, because up till today, after so long, when somebody then says, tell me about yourself, da, 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 it's been a question I was asked a million times.
Mhm.
So when you ask me questions where it means, where I've seen you are part of my growth, you've seen when I started, I wasn't speaking sustainability or ethical fashion, but when you tap into, it makes me happy that, but my
Yeah.
question to you then is, as you do your work, how do you want to be remembered in this field of work that you do, as you when one day maybe you depart this world, how would you like to be remembered?
Actually, that's the question that I should have asked you, but I'm gonna answer it. You know. So so to answer your question,
Hmm.
I think I'd like to be remembered as somebody who was able to help others shine their light.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know.
that's a good one. I mean,
Yeah.
I just did through this platform.
You just
I just
did.
did. You just made me shine my light.
Yeah.
I shared my story, and it's,
Yeah.
like I said, we're sharing it on a global village.
Yeah.
It's gonna be seen beyond just me sitting in a radio station and being interviewed. So
Yeah.
I really,
No,
really like that. Yeah, yeah.
no, I
So
think
you
I think you
definitely will be
yeah,
remembered. as the
Yes,
torch for
yes,
shining in people's lives. Absolutely. And thank you
yeah.
for shining lights.
How would you like to be remembered?
Yeah. I, let me, I think when people were given, we all have a purpose in life, and
Mhm,
I think when people were given their own purpose, and I'm talking outside of Izaura, outside of everything, when I think God gifted me with the greatest gift of loving people. Like when I can't measure it, but
mhm,
there's just, I have a love for people and I think that's just my purpose. I've made people become comfortable in who they are,
mhm.
be able to just, I believe in just, I make people so happy,
Yeah,
and I think that's so I will be definitely remembered as one of the most loving people ever.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And you are doing that. And you are doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think I got that from my mom. I think my
Yeah,
mom has an ability to love people.
yeah.
Um, from all walks of life. Like the converse, like like when I go to African Mall and buy fabrics,
Mhm,
like the whole, you got these guys that help people park cars. And my mom was just shocked one time, or I was with somebody, and everybody was whistling and calling and saying, Isaura, Isaura. And they were like, what is happening? And I was
yeah.
like, for me, it's until that moment when somebody said, "What's happening?" And because it's a norm for me to be
Mhm,
able to have or share such an
mhm,
amount of love with people, I think that's why even they get excited to see me. In my
mhm,
corporate days, I would share my tea with the cleaning ladies. They would say to me, "We're going to get fat cakes.
mhm,
Should we bring you some?" And I
mhm.
remember even my last day when we were going, when I was leaving, and they had wrapped, we used to, they had wrapped with a newspaper, they had wrapped some fat cakes for me. And they were like, hey, they were saying they contributed, and they were like, they contributed, they all chipped in money to be able to get me baked cakes because that's the
Yeah,
last time they made
yeah,
me tea,
yeah,
and I was like, because I've given them the greatest love ever. So I'm such a lover, I've got
yeah.
such
You
an
are, man. And
love,
and
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 that's
and
it.
a- and it's contagious because I see how people gravitate towards you.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what
yeah.
I mean? Like, I think you are a wonderful person, and
Thank you so much.
I'm happy that you know uh, I'm gonna
You've had
continue
this.
to
Mm,
receive that light
yeah,
that you are oozing right now.
yeah.
Hopefully it will not just be taken from you, so there will be reciprocity.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely. We are trying to be kind. Listen, the
yeah.
next time that we have this conversation, I want us to be another conversation.
Uh,
I want it to be with 10 steps ahead or 100 steps, where we're like, remember when we are discussing one, two, three, this is where we
uh-huh,
are, this is
uh-huh.
where we've been able to bring in people
Mhm.
from wherever. You never know who's even watching this, who may be
Yeah,
interested in being part of all these
yeah,
things that people need to do,
yeah.
and I'm hoping that we will come back one day and have a toast this time and say, hey, we did it.
No, I'm excited already about another one. Already, I'm
Yeah.
looking
And
forward to
who
the
knows
next
where
one.
we will be doing it? It might not be in this little studio of mine. It might be in another part of the world where maybe I would
Yeah,
have
yeah,
found
yeah.
home and found, purpose in.
Let's do that, man. I'm already
Yeah,
looking forward to that one.
yeah, yeah,
When you were talking about African Mall,
yeah,
like maybe 20 years, I don't know. Maybe that store is still there.
yeah,
Maybe it's not there. There
yeah,
used to be a store
yeah.
called 2000. I think it used to be called Mr. 2000. I don't know if you remember that store.
I wasn't born. I don't know what you're
You,
talking. I
yeah, no,
wasn't
you were
born.
not born. You were not. That's like in the yeah.
I'm
That's like in
joking.
the
No,
90s.
the shops that when I grew up, then I found was like Uncle Boys. Did you know a shop called Uncle
I know
Boys?
Younger Boys. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Uncle Boys. And then I knew Kins, even though I didn't experience it
Kins,
that much.
Kins,
You know.
yes, 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 yes.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, I've always been a late bloomer. Like I've always been afraid to be. I was just a child, always at home.
Yeah.
And then when I became an animal, I dived in. I was like, this is what I've been missing.
Exactly, exactly.
So what is it about Mr.
No, you
2000?
have grown up to be a wonderful young man. Go ahead.
Thank you. No, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, Mothusi. I appreciate you, man. So
Thank you so much.